Good morning, colleagues. Um, I just want to welcome you this morning. We have some lovely ladies here from National Housing Trust. We want to especially welcome them. We have Mrs. Tracy Ann Wedderburn and Ms. Georgia McGrowder. I think I got the names right. So we would like to welcome you. Thank you for coming to spend pretty much a day with us, right? And they're here out of the goodness of their heart, really, to impart to us some understanding of what NHT does, what benefits we have access to, and how to go about accessing it, I believe, and I'm sure plenty more details. We really appreciate it. We know that this is taking time out from what you normally do, and it has taken a reasonable amount of agreement. Their own superiors, I would like to acknowledge, I think it's Mrs. Lorna Bernard, Miss Lorna Bernard, your St. Andrew branch manager, right? And your team supervisors as well. And they've all been in agreement. I also want to acknowledge our management team for allowing time. As much as the numbers look a little thin, we're scattered all over. We have a group here in this building. There's an overflow room. I anticipate a few persons have messaged to say that they'll be a little late, but they'll be joining in. And we also have a group from Montego Bay, Western Jamaica campus, and a few other individuals, some on leave, but still interested in joining in, some traveling for work and so on. So they're all connected, they're all participating, and they should be keen to hear what you have to say, and we're looking forward to your presentation. Before we start, I just wanted to say two quick words, just two thoughts really. In regards to the value of this engagement, this is not just about NHT wanting to share information with us, but we believe it would have brought value to our staff, and we also have quite a few student workers. We think that sharing this information has value, particularly for the fact that we don't consider, when you think about material assets that you own, especially younger people, people tend to look ahead, they're going through college and so on, look forward to, they say, buying a car maybe first. Very few people think about property or a home. And I think in some regard, when you consider what constitutes your material assets, your estate, somebody once told us that there's really only one type of real estate. Everything else devalues. But property has a way of holding value. And in some regards, we don't give it the attention it's due. Particularly young people. I was reflecting on this and I was thinking to myself, if I had to tell my 20-year-old self all over again what to prioritize, I think a home, property would have been a priority. Beyond that, I did share something with my team this morning, and if you don't mind, I just read this to you very briefly. This is a verse from Isaiah. It's verse 32:18. And the Lord says, "My people will live in peaceful dwelling places, in secure homes, in undisturbed places of rest." Even God himself would like us to have a good place, a good home. And it has value. Even though this is an employment entity, we know that if our team members have good habitations, good homes, their productivity will always be higher. So there's a benefit. Even as employers, we should consider this. I just wanted to share that thought with you. And I do want to acknowledge we have friends and family here. My wife is here. We had invited those who have spouses who probably work on campus or nearby who would like to join in. Just wanted to acknowledge those persons as well. All right. And let's just kick off with a quick word of prayer. All right. Father God, we thank you for your awesome love for us. Thank you for your presence in our midst. Thank you, Lord, that you have sent these wonderful people from NHT to share with us, Lord. We speak a blessing over them. We speak a blessing over each person gathered here and their households. Thank you, Lord, that it is your good pleasure and will to bless us with good dwelling places. So we look to you, Lord, for wisdom being imparted, understanding and provision. And thank you, Lord, for a restful, peaceful, productive day in this engagement. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And without further ado, let me hand over to these lovely ladies. And just a little housekeeping note. I gather and they'll fill you in on this. Their approach, I think, is to engage as they go along. I'd asked if they want to do Q&A at the end, but they'd rather, I guess, given the material, they'd rather have the questions thrown at them as they go along. So persons who are remotely participating. Ish, can we see the guys on the remote sites? Please feel free to jump in. You can let us know. Just speak, we'll hear you, and the presenters will hear your questions as well. Thank you.
This is on. A pleasant morning to you all. Again, I'm Tracy Ann Weatherburn from the New Loans Department. Also, Georgia McGraw is from the New Loans Department. We're both loan officers. We process loans. Now, we want to thank you for inviting us. Mr. Amarikun said that it's taking time out of our busy schedule, but this is a part of what we do as well. Companies invite us in, we go in, we give information, we do calculations and all of that. All right, so without further ado. Establishment was that we wanted to improve the quality of life of Jamaicans by facilitating home ownership and community development. Our vision is to be ranked among the leading housing finance institution in the world, renowned for customer service and also community development. Now, we're going to look at the products that we offer. There are two types of products that we offer. We offer non-homeowners loan and homeowners loan. The non-homeowners loan are like your open market, where you get loans to assist you to purchase house. We have house lot, and we have build on own land, where if you already own property, you can get a loan to build on the land. Now, how do you become eligible for this? You have to be a contributor to the National Housing Trust. To contribute, you must be between the ages of 18 and 65, working and earning an income. The company you work with will contribute 3%, and they contribute 2% for you. So it's 2% of your income that is contributed. Clear? All right, good. For you to be eligible to apply, you ought to be contributing for at least 52 weeks, which is equivalent to a year. Let's say you were working and contributing for 52 weeks, but you stopped. And at the point you approach us, you must be current for 13 weeks within the last 6 months. So what we do is we look at the last 6 months coming up to the point of your applying for a benefit, and we ensure that you have 13 weekly contributions. Clear? All right, back to the products. So as I was saying earlier, we have the non-homeowners loan, the open market, the house lot, the build on own land, or scheme benefits as well. And the maximum we offer for all of these are 6.5 million. For the open market, where let's say you want to buy a house, the first step is to identify the property and make a deposit on it of not less than 5% of the selling price of the property. Same thing with a house lot. House lot means that you want to buy land. The maximum we offer to purchase land is 2.5 million, and then you can come back for the balance to build. So you get 2.5 to purchase the land, and then you come back for the 4 million towards construction. Now, if you own land, meaning you have a title for the land, your name is on the title, and you want to build on that land, you can also get 6.5 million to build on the land. The 2.5 is for purchase of the land. Now, you can either apply by yourself or you can co-apply with somebody. So if you co-apply 6.5 each, that's 13 million. And all of this is subject to approval. Now, with the schemes, schemes are the ones that the National Housing Trust offers. So we usually advertise when we have scheme units, whether it's studios, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and so on. For schemes, you can get 100% financing. But of course, it's also based on affordability. So let's say the scheme unit is being sold for 10 million. we have a supporting benefit that goes with that. So if it's 10 million, we only offer 6.5 million. Then of course it doesn't cover the entire 10 million. So we have something called a supporting benefit called a CRTD. CRTD stands for Contribution Refunds Towards Deposit. What those are, you know that you're making contributions. I don't know if you're aware that you can get contribution refunds every year. January of every year you get contribution refunds. Right. With the contribution refunds, it's usually the 8th year after a particular year that you get the refund. Now, those contributions that are not yet mature for payment, you can get those to assist you, whether to do deposit, whether you have a shortfall, or if you have closing costs, because when you're buying property, you have closing costs. So you can get those to assist you. So let's say you apply for the scheme unit. You're selected. It's 10 million. You can afford the 6.5. Everything is subject to affordability. You get in the 6.5, you get in your contribution, but you still have a shortfall. That part you'll have to come up with on your own. Clear? All right. With the service lot are those land that the NHT offers, and they're already prepared, meaning they have the infrastructure, they have the pegs and all of that. So you can get 2.5 for that. You can also use your CRTD to assist you with that. We have other supporting benefits. I mentioned the CRTD earlier. There's also what you call Parent Assist 1, Parent Assist 2. Now, with the Parent Assist 1, you can use that to assist you with your scheme, in applying for the scheme units. Everybody clear on what I'm saying? All right, I need feedback. All right, with the Parent Assist 1, let's say you have your mommy contributed to the National Housing Trust, but she has never gotten a benefit. Her name is untitled. She's over 65 and she's not contributing. You can put your mother's name up front when you're applying for the scheme unit. And based on the number of contributions she has made over the years, she would have points and she can get selected using her points. So both of you would apply, but it's really your benefit. All right? The Parent Assist 1 is used for schemes and service lots. For the Parent Assist 2, for the Parent Assist 1 and 2,
it has to be an NHT scheme.
Right. I was speaking about scheme or service lot. The person should not have access to benefit from the National Housing Trust, and they should not have gotten their total refund. And why we say should not have gotten total refund, because you know when you reach 65 and you don't get a benefit, you're entitled to collect everything, all the refunds that you've made over the years. So at the point that person's applying, they should not have gotten the total refund. So we move on to for the scheme units, before I move on. For the scheme, what we usually do when we have available units, we advertise them. So it's advertised in the media, you see it in the papers and all of that. We give you a date as to when you can apply. We tell you the cost of it and all that. It usually runs for a week. You apply online. If you're selected, you're notified. You come in and get your package, you do your interview, and that's it. You start paying your mortgage subsequent to that. For the Parent Assist 2, that would go along with your open market, build on own land, all the non-homeowners benefit. Parent Assist 2 means that the person has not yet gotten to the age of 65 and still contributing. Their name should be on a title. So what they're doing is helping you to get the benefit. Even though the name is on a title, they can get up to 6.5 along with you. All right, and the same thing applies. They should not have gotten total refund. Feedback, people.
13.
Yes. If two persons combine together, they can get up to 13. It's not a guarantee. You have to be qualified for it based on your salary. So we do an affordability check. All right. The other thing, with the open market, sure.
So based on salary, that would be the child. Because if the parent is, under 65, they can still work. Would the parent need to be working as well?
Parent need to be working as well? That's what the parent.
Assist too,
Yes,
but
yes.
not for the parent assist.
Because they should still be contributing. Once you're under 65 and working, you should still be contributing. All right. With the open market, I want to focus on open market and house lot because I know most persons go in that route. So open market means that you are going out there to find the property. 6.5 is the maximum we offer per person, also based on affordability. Sometimes when persons come in and they do the calculation, they may find that they can't afford the 6.5. But you're co-applying with somebody else who can in fact afford 6.5 and more. So what we do, we introduce to them what is called a combined income. What that means is that, let's say it's you and me applying. You can get 6.5, and when we look at your affordability, there's something that we do a calculation, we look at the affordability, and it says that you can afford more than 6.5, although that's the maximum we offer. When I do the calculation, when they do the calculation, I can only get 2 million. But I need, in the property I'm buying, I need a further, say, $3 million. 6.5 and 5, no, that would be too much because with the combined income, the two loans together cannot exceed $9 million. All right? So what I can't afford would be placed on the other person. But together, it cannot exceed $9 million. All right? So that's the supporting benefits I mentioned. Parent Assist 1, Parent Assist 2, combined income. Now, I don't know if anybody in this room is earning between $7,000 and $15,000.99. Anybody in here? Per week. Per week?
Maybe they're not going to tell you.
All right. All right. I'm going to give you the, before tax. I'm going to give you the information just the same. One of the supporting benefits is called a home grant. So those persons that fall in the $7,000 to $15,000.99, they would attract 0%. So they'd get a loan, but they wouldn't pay back any interest. No, the thing about that is that these persons can't afford 6.5 million. So what we do, we introduce the home grant. Home grant is a grant. It means that you don't have to pay it back. It is registered on the title. It's registered on the title. You have to be contributing for at least 7 years in order to get it. Now, with the home grant, whatever you can afford, so if the salary can afford you only 3 million, then the loan that we're going to give you, the 3 million and the grant, sorry, not the loan, cannot exceed, for a single person, it cannot exceed $7 million. So if you're applying by yourself, whatever you can afford, plus the grant, cannot exceed $7 million. If it's two persons, the loan that you can afford, that the person can afford, and the grant cannot exceed $9 million. All right? Now, the disadvantage of the home grant is that you can't come back for additional funds. What additional funds means is that for those regular persons, they can get 6.5, they didn't utilize the entire 6.5, let's say they only utilized 4 million, and you know you can get 6.5, you can come back at a later date and apply for the 2.5 to assist you to do renovation, fixing up and all of that. If you access the home grant, you cannot get additional funds. So with the home grant, you have to be contributing to the National Housing Trust for at least 7 years. You cannot get additional funds, and it is said in the policy that you can't rent the property. You can get permission to rent if you're outside of that. All right?
When you say cannot apply again for additional funds, suppose the situation of the person has changed.
Yeah.
So they were working at the minimum wage and they got the grant, but then their economic status improved.
Based on the policy.
You can't?
No. But we always say to persons, you can write an appeal. So you can write, based on, they look at it as a case-by-case situation. All right? So back to the open market now. So we'll look at the supporting benefits. With the open market, I want persons to bear in mind that it's not just about getting a loan from the National Housing Trust. You also need to do some savings. Because when you find the property, you have to make a deposit. You're faced with closing costs. What are closing costs? Those additional costs the duties that you have to pay for the property to be transferred to you. So you're faced with stamp duty, you're faced with registration fee, cost for sales agreement, miscellaneous costs. What are miscellaneous costs? When you're buying the property, the utility companies need to know that you're the new owner. Tax office needs to know that you're the new owner. So the lawyer will do things like a letter, they do letters of possession, which is a letter to JPS, a letter to Water Commission, a letter to tax office, advising them that you're now the owners, so they can enter into an agreement with you. And the one to tax office means you're going to start paying property taxes. All right? All right, so you need to, I would say to persons, you need to have some money saved to pay the deposit. Yes, you can get the CRTD, contribution refunds towards deposit to assist you, but it might not be enough. Some persons, it is enough to help them with deposit. It is enough to help them with shortfall, or if you wanted to assist for surveyors and valuation report, you can get that as well. All right? The house lot. No, I mentioned house lot earlier, where you can get 2.5 million, and then you come back after the process has been completed for the purchase of the land, you can come back for the 4 million to build. Now, the beauty of the construction aspect of it is that, let's say you decide, I don't want to build on this land. I want the land, but I don't want to build on it. You can get approval to use the construction loan to purchase a house. Can't get it to purchase another land, but you can get it to assist you. Notice I said assist because we know that $4 million can't buy a house. So you can get it to assist you to purchase a house. So you don't have to get rid of the land. You can keep the land. What the NHT will do is that what you need to bear in mind is that the house you're buying, the value of it ought to be sufficient to cover the loan that you got for the land and the loan that you're going to be getting to assist you to buy the house. Now, you don't have to pay off the house loan. What they do is they transfer whatever is outstanding on the land to the new title. So they transfer to the new title. So you'll have a loan for the land and the house on the new title, and they release the title for the land to you. All right? Any questions? No? All right. So we touched on build on own land. Everybody clear on what build on own land is? All right, so we're going on to the homeowner's loan now. Homeowner's loan, meaning that you already own the property, you own a house, you didn't get that loan from the National Housing Trust, right? So you can get 2.5 million. Your name is untitled, meaning you're the owner of that property. You can get 2.5 million. You can use the 2.5 million to do extension to the property. You can use it to do the interior, or what some persons do, they use it to assist them to buy somewhere else. NHT doesn't stop you from doing that. Or you can use it. Let's say I'm a homeowner, you are not, we're co-applying. I can use my 2.5 to assist you in purchasing property. All right. Now, for the home enhancement and the home ownership, by exception, we group them together. We call it a 15+ loan, 2.5. With these two, it means that you got a benefit from the National Housing Trust already. And 15 years to the date, you can get another benefit. You're all public sector workers, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so what the government did recently is that he said for public sector workers, you don't have to wait 15 years. You can wait 10 years, and then you come back and access your 10+ loan. That's a new name for it, for the public sector workers. So if you're not a public sector worker, it's a 15+ loan, but if you're a public sector worker, it's a 10+ loan. Same 2.5. You can utilize it to extend, do repairs. You can utilize it to assist you to buy somewhere else. But go ahead.
The 10+ loan. The 10+ loan.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Good morning. That'd be nice because we're streaming. Yes, the 10+ loan. You can get it if you're a public sector worker after 10 years.
That is correct.
Do you have to finish paying your mortgage? In other words, when that 10 years come, you have to be, your mortgage has to be paid up in full? or I can still come and access because 10 years has passed, but the mortgage that I'm paying with you is still ongoing.
Oh, so you still have an active mortgage?
Yes,
you
can I still come
If
now
you
for that
still-
extra?
Yes, you can. If you still have an active mortgage, you can still come and get your 10 plus loan. The condition, though, is that you must be current with your mortgage. Mortgage must be current, mustn't be in arrears. So you have to be up to date with that.
And you get the 2.5.
Based on affordability.
Okay, thank you.
Based on affordability, because we're going to look at what you're already paying and what you're now going to be paying. That is taken into consideration as well.
And just to add to that, yes. Just to add to that, if you've already sold that property, then you can get the one for Hope, which is to help you to purchase the new property. So the same 2.5, all right?
So one is you still have the unit or the house, and the other is you have sold it, and you want this to assist you to buy something else. All right. That sums it up for that part of it. The other thing I need to point out is that if you come to the National Housing Trust and what we're offering in terms of 2 persons together, let's say it's 2 of you applying and 6.5 each, you can afford it, you're getting 13 million, but that is still not sufficient. You can either, one, go the route of pari passu. I'll explain that to you shortly. Pari passu meaning you're using a credit union, or it could be a bank. And what the meaning is that both institutions would have equal holding to the title. So that is what pari passu means. Now, the process can be a little tedious because you would have to get a letter from us to the credit union. I'm using the credit union as an example. And that letter is called a referral letter, and the letter would indicate how much you can get, the interest rate, the mortgage term, meaning the number of years to pay back. And we would also indicate the condition that the value of the consolidated loan, the 2 loans from NHT and the institution, cannot exceed 90% of the market value or selling price, whichever is less. So you'd get the referral letter from us, take it to them, they process you, they give you a letter of commitment, you come back to us and we process and issue a letter of commitment. That's one. The other one is called the joint financing program. Now, with the joint financing program, there are a number of institutions that are partners with us. You have Bank of Nova Scotia, you have NCB, you have Jamaica, well, it's not Jamaica National, it's JN Bank. You have Victoria Mutual, you have Sagicor, Jamaica Money Market Brokers, First Caribbean. The beauty of joint financing, you don't come to the NHT any at all. You go to them. They process you, they send the information to us via email. We do the calculation and email them the information in terms of what you can afford, the interest rate, and we don't give them monthly payment. No, just the interest rate and the amount that you can afford. So it's a one-stop shop kind of a thing. You go to, let's say, JN Bank, they process you. So they process you for the NHT's portion at the NHT's interest rate and their portion at their interest rate. The difference is that when you come to NHT, you don't have to pay service charges and all of that up front. When you go there, you have to pay their service charges up front. All right? All right. Now for the solar water heater. You can get your open market loan and be processed for a solar water heater loan at the same time. Some persons will say, oh, but where I live too hot, can't bother with that. But you can also get the solar water heater to help you to buy like rhino tanks to store water and all of that. The maximum we offer for that is $250,000 and it's at 2%. The monthly payment is usually about $2,000, some thereabout, and you get five years to pay it back. All right? Now, these are some of the documents that you would need in the event you're going the route of open market to purchase a house or to purchase land. You have the NIS card, the physical card, not you're saying, I know the number. You have the TRN card. You used to get cards, but I think they give letters now. So the letters. We need 2 government-issued ID, picture IDs that is. So you can use either your driver's license, you can use your voters, you can use your work ID, providing it has an expired date on it. Job letter, the letter from your present employer stating that you're employed there, how long you're employed there, how much you're earning, gross income that is. So when we say gross, we look at the basic, the allowances and all of that. We ask you for pay slips, current pay slips. We ask you for your birth certificate, not the old one, the new one, the blue pretty paper, right? For the certificate of payment of taxes, you'd get that from the vendor's attorney. What the certificate of payment of taxes is, it's a certificate. Usually the person's going to pay their taxes, they get a receipt. That's not what we want. We want the certificate. The certificate would mean that all the taxes are paid up to a certain point. So if it's not paid up, they're not giving you the certificate. All right? We need a passport size picture, something you took within the last 6 months. It does not have to be notarized by a JP. We need a...
Just for confirmation, this applies to everybody, not just persons who don't own a home, because I'm seeing property tax certificate.
Ask the question again.
I wouldn't have had a property tax.
No, remember I said that one you get from the vendor's attorney. When you're
Oh,
buying.
okay.
And if the taxes are not up to date, what we do is we'll process you with a letter of undertaking from the vendor's attorney to say they undertake to have the taxes paid off. All right. Copy title, you wouldn't have that if you're buying, but you'd get that from the vendor's attorney. Surveyor's ID report, valuation report, that you would get from, you would have to do that. We don't have a list of persons, we don't have a list of persons to say that these are the persons you have to use. Once they're listed in the directory, you can use them, they're licensed. The surveyor's ID report is really a diagram of the property, outlining the boundaries. The surveyor would have gone there using the title, the copy title on your title. The title, I don't know if everybody knows, the title basically gives a history of the property. It has the ID of it, your volume and your folder number on it. It gives the covenants meaning what you can and cannot do on the property, how high you can build your wall, how near you can build to the boundary. So what the surveyor does is he goes to the property, has the title, and he inspects all these things in accordance with the covenants to ensure that everything lines up. If it doesn't line up, it means that there's a breach. And if there's a breach, it means that you're going to need an attorney to give a letter of undertaking to have it modified. All right? The valuation report now is a document, kind of look like a book, little book like. It gives you the description of the property, whether it's a 1-2 bedroom, how it is made, whether it's made with block and steel, concrete, nog, and all of that. It tells you the age of the property, the age of the building, and the remaining useful life, how much longer they think the property can last. And the most important part, it gives you the value of the property, not the selling price, two different things, although sometimes they give you the selling price as the value. The value, they look at the amenities in the thing, whether you have ceramic tile, porcelain tiles, French windows, what is the going value of other houses within the area and all of that, so they arrive at a value. It also gives you the insurance value. The insurance value will tell us at the NHT how much we can insure your house for. It also gives something called the for sale value. What that means is, in the event you become delinquent, what is the quickest amount we can sell your property for? So we need the valuation report to do the calculation of the mortgage. All right? Sales agreement is the agreement between you and the vendors, outlining the terms and conditions of the sale, the cost of the property, and all of that. And the deposit receipt. Now, the National Housing Trust says to you, make a deposit on the property, but ensure it does not go below 5% of the selling price. That's the NHT's guideline. Usually when you go out there, vendors are asking for 10, sometimes 15, up to 20%. Because in the case of a new development, sometimes they ask you for a 20% deposit. All right? Earlier I had mentioned that these are your closing costs. We say closing costs, but you'll also hear the term half costs. Reason, you pay half, the vendors pay half.
Can I interject?
Sure.
From the other slide, the contribution letter, who
Go back.
gives that?
The company. Letter verifying income. No, man. The company you work with.
Oh,
The letter right, a letter verifying income and contributions
To the NHT.
to the NHT. So let's say you were working in 2015 and you contributed for the entire year. So first they would have given the salary, the gross salary. They would have stated how long you're working there. Sometimes they give 2 letters, sometimes they give 1. So the contributions aspect of it, they would stipulate 2015, 52 weeks, 2016, 52 weeks, and so on and so forth. So that is what it is really.
I'm sorry. So the NHT would want a job letter and in addition a contribution letter from, say, UE.
Right. So
Okay.
on the checklist, it would say letter verifying income and contributions from present employer. In some instances, we may have some of it on the system, some of the information on the system. We don't really press persons for like the previous, but we'd ask you for the current, at least for 2018, 2019, because 2018 might not be on the system yet. We probably would not have received the information from your company just yet. All right?
Also, as it relates to that slide as well, I wanted to ask, who is undertaking the back taxes? Are you saying that the person who is now buying the property would need to pay up what's owed?
No.
Okay.
I said you would get a certificate, a property tax certificate. In the event the taxes are not paid off, then the attorney, the vendor's attorney, would give a letter of undertaking to say that they undertake right to pay it off. If you were coming for another benefit outside of open market and house lot, though, like you own the property, you don't own land, then you would be responsible to pay it up. And we can't process unless you have that certificate. All right.
I have a question.
Question over here.
Yes, with regards to the evaluator's report and the surveyor's ID report, does the unit have to exist for you to get that report?
Say that again. Does a unit have to?
With regards to the previous slide where you had the list of
Surveyor.
requirements, you had stated that we needed the surveyor's ID report and the evaluator's report.
That is correct.
Right. So I'm asking if the unit has to exist for you to get that. I'm using the example of a housing scheme. So if you're purchasing a unit within a housing scheme, you know the type of house based on the model house.
Oh, no, you're talking about a new development. Sorry.
Yes.
In the case of a new development, example like houses at Gore Development, we're currently selling, they would not have the surveyor and the valuation. No, they would have a valuation report, and it would be done based on the model unit with the surveyor's report, though. Because it's a new development, they have one title for the entire thing. So it has to go through splintering to get the individual title for each person, for each unit, sorry. So in that case, the developer's attorney would give a letter of undertaking to supply us with the surveyor's report, the splinter title, and something called the practical completion certificate to say that the unit has been inspected and it is completed. Sure.
Hi, in the other room. Okay, in addition to what Tracy Ann just said, before you get to that stage, actually, the developer would have had to have sought approval from the NHT's board to use the letter of undertaking. So it's not automatic. So they have to first seek the approval, and once the approval has been given, then we can process without those documents. And what they would provide as well is a typical valuation report. So it's not individually done. And, and it would be on the... Repeat, please?
It's like a generic report.
I didn't know.
It's like a generic report.
It's a generic report based on the model unit, as Ms. Wedderburn would have said.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. One, well, I found out relatively little known facility apparently is the, I hope I get it right, the CTRD, our CRTD facility.
Funds towards the
Right. I why is that such a secret? Because I think it's a very
It's a secret?
well. There are very few people who seem to be aware of it, and I'll ask you to explain it. But basically, how I understand it is that if you apply for your NHT refunds, you get your refunds up to a particular date, which is probably I think about 9 years or 8 years.
No, 8.
8
So
years.
Like for this year, 2019, we're paying back 2011.
Correct.
So if you're applying for the CRTD, you would not be getting 2011. You'll
Right.
be getting 2012 up to 2017.
Right. So the CRTD allows you to access those
Those
funds
that are not
that
yet-
you would not have been able to access under the normal refunds.
Right, right.
And the good thing about it,
And it's not a loan you pay back, even though it says loan.
it's a loan, but you don't pay it
You
back
don't pay
because your
back.
future
Hold on.
contributions pay it back.
The thing about, the interest
Right.
on it. Because what? Not the future. Let me explain it.
Right.
With the CRTD, all right, let's say you're getting the 2012 to 2017.
Correct.
You can get 2018 because you can get that at the end of this year.
Yes.
But by the end of this year, 2012 would have fallen off because it's due for payment in January.
Correct.
So how it works is that we have what is called a time account. So let's say when we check it, between 2012 to 2017, you have 600,000. We hold the 600,000 in that account, and we disburse its equivalent. The funds that are held earns interest, and the interest that it earns is what pays back the loan.
Right.
Now, as I said, you don't have to pay it back.
Precisely.
However,
Yes.
in the event that for it to trigger the process, we have to get a letter of undertaking from the attorney, the vendor's attorney. Because let's say you're using it for, and you can only use it for open market and house lot, by the way, when you're buying property.
Right.
Right? So the vendor's attorney, we would have given you an eligibility letter to tell you the period you're getting,
Precisely.
the amount of money. You take it to the attorney gives a letter of undertaking. The purpose of that is that he's saying, listen, in the event the sale is cancelled, we undertake to return all the funds to the National Housing Trust. Right?
Yeah. So why don't you have a banner stretching from one side of Kingston to the next side of Kingston? Speaking about this thing, I mean, I discovered it quite by accident. It's a fantastic facility. Nobody knows about it.
Wow.
Right? Very few people know about it.
Okay. That
And
means we need to advertise more.
No, you need to advertise it far more because you get access to an additional 7 years or 6 years that you wouldn't have otherwise have access to once you have that letter of undertaking.
Right.
That should the sale fall through, the monies go back to the
Right.
NHT. And the good thing about it is that even though you pay back, you literally don't pay it back.
No, you don't go in your pocket.
You don't go in your pocket and take
Right.
it. So it's basically free money. Why?
Well, it's your money.
Why- it's your money.
technically.
But why don't you advertise it? So anybody here who's, make sure, write it down. CTRD. CRTD.
Contribution
Write it down.
refunds towards
Right.
deposit. And remember, it can also be used to assist you with the surveyor's report and evaluation. So if you're not using it to assist you with deposit, and if you're not using it for shortfall or closing costs, you can also use it for to do the surveyors and evaluation.
Right.
For that, then it wouldn't be an undertaking because a surveyor can't give an undertaking, neither evaluator. It's the invoice that you would come in with for those.
Do you sensitize mortgage agents in the various mortgage companies, NCB, NHT?
Yes, they do,
sorry,
because
not
they do
NHT,
joint
JN.
financing. So
There
they
very
are
few-
aware.
There are very few mortgage agents that are aware of this facility. Very, very few.
But they are aware because we have to train them as well. So they
So
are
if they're
aware.
aware,
of it.
why aren't they telling their prospective customers?
From them.
They want you to take it from them. More money for them.
Anyway,
We covered everything. We covered everything.
but it really is something I think the NHT needs to say a lot more about, and
We
to
did
have
that already.
a lot of prospective homeowners be aware of this facility. I think it's a fantastic facility, and it's like that story in the Bible where you hide it under a bushel. I just don't understand why more people, including agents, are not aware of this facility. Anyway.
All right. Sure.
You get the CR
TD.
plus the 10 plus. The 10 plus. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, can you get the CRTD plus the 10 plus?
10 plus. Remember, I said it's only for open market house lot.
Right.
You're
So
just buying.
suppose you're just buying. Can you get both the 10 plus?
Remember, the 10 plus is after you've gotten a loan already. 10 years after you've gotten a first loan, and you're coming back.
Oh, so this.
So So if it is that you've sold the property and you're using the 10 plus to assist you to buy the property then, and you did not use the CRTD before, then yes, you can.
But if you didn't sell the property,
No.
you cannot get the CRTD and the
No.
10 plus.
No.
Which one can you get?
You can get the 10 plus
But not
to
the
do
C-
repairs, because at that point, the CRTD is to help when you're purchasing. But the 10
A
plus
first house or a second house?
is first. It's first. No, if it is that you sold the first one,
That's how
then
you get
we'll
this.
entertain it.
But
But if you haven't sold it, then no.
you cannot get the CRTD,
No.
but you can get the 10 plus.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
All right, to not to create any confusion, remember the 10 plus there are two parts to it. You have the help, home, how is it again? You have hope and you have help. The hope is the home ownership by exception, meaning you sell the house and you're coming back 10 years after to get the 2.5 to assist you. And the help is the home enhancement loan plan, meaning you're getting that to assist you to either do repairs or to do an extension to the property. So those two come
So I
under the
have to
10
be
plus.
very, well, with the 10 plus where the house still exists, I have to be very specific saying I'm going to be doing enhancement or repairs.
You have to
and
be
I have
specific to say, listen, I still own this property. Well, the loan would still be active on the system.
Right.
So we'd know definitely that it's the help and not the hope.
So can I still get that 2.5, or do I have to get that 2.5 give you some kind of quote or something to say I'm going to do A, B, and C, and it must add up to the 2.5?
Yeah, that is correct.
And if it doesn't add up to 2.5, I don't get 2.5, even though the maximum is 2.5.
What we do is encourage you to go get additional estimates. Or if it is that we do the calculation and we realize you can't afford the 2.5, then we ask you to supply us with information as to how you're going to, if your estimates is say 2.5 and you're only getting 1.7, then you'd have to give us information like bank statement or something to say, listen, I can afford the rest on my own.
No, I think you misunderstood just now. The maximum is 2.5. I own a home, but I want 2.5. 10 years has passed. Do I give you a quotation that says 2.5, or do I just come for the 2.5 and say, look,
you
I
have
want
to bring in estimates, quotation estimates, same thing.
And if the quotation say 1.7, I can only get 1.7.
Precisely. But we'll question you
That's okay.
to find out if you need the full 2.5.
And if I said yes, and
then
my
you go
quotation
get your
is
additional quotations.
thank you. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have another question. Yes. It's not a voice in your head, don't worry. Right, I have a question from someone just wants to find out if if your credit score affects you getting a loan, and if it does, how?
NHT don't reach your say it. So we don't look at that. And remember, we're taking your money. We're taking your money.
Okay.
So they don't reach. I don't know if they're going there. I don't hear any discussion on it.
So I don't need to worry right now.
No.
I don't need to worry right now.
No. Basically what we do, you would have filled out an application with an income and expenditure part on it, where you put your expenses and all of that. So we look at that to see if you can in fact afford to pay the mortgage.
Okay.
But if you're going through a mortgage company,
I would think so.
like
JN Bank.
like JN Bank or any of the financial institutions
Right.
that provide mortgage services, they do check,
Yes, they do.
and they check quite specifically
Oh,
and
yes.
in great detail.
They
Even
do.
where the arrangement, as you said earlier, would involve a component from NHT being built into that arrangement.
Right.
Once you have to depend on their funds, they check.
Yes, they do. They do. Any other questions? All right, there's one thing I wanted to mention. Earlier when I mentioned the home grant, you can also get a part of the home grant. 40% of it is 2.5 for home grant, by the way, and 40% of that you can get to assist you with deposit. So remember, I said the home grant is a supporting benefit. For those persons that fall within the 0%, meaning minimum wage, 7,000, between 7,000 and $15,099, those persons accessing the home grant, they can get a part of the home grant to assist them with deposit.
I just want to ask, if you get a homeowner's loan, then NHT would have a lien on the property?
Say that again?
Would you have a lien on the property?
Yes. We'll be holding on to your title. Any loan at all, we're going to hold on to your title.
Quick question. Just a scenario. If you have a parent and they are retired, they never took any of the NHT contributions, and say suppose they wanted a loan towards a solar system.
No,
Not possible.
they have to be contributing. You said they didn't get a benefit. They're retired.
They've never taken the benefit, but
The
they're
person's retired?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Can you tie the home grant to the parent assist too?
I've never seen that done.
But it's possible.
That's outside of policy, and anything outside of policy has to go for approval.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there's a possibility still.
I don't want to say yes because
Okay.
I haven't seen it in policy.
All right.
All right. When you get your loan, just want you to know, and you're paying a mortgage, your mortgage includes the basic part, which is what goes to the paying back of the loan, and it also includes life insurance and peril insurance. If it's a strata, meaning it's an apartment, we don't do peril insurance for that. The strata is responsible for the insurance. But life insurance means that we're insuring your lives against the property. That is the persons who are getting the loan. Your lives are insured, so in the event of death, once you come in, whomever, when I say you, meaning whoever is still alive, comes in, reports it. They have 3 years to report it. If it's reported within the 3 years, the life insurance will settle the loan. So if it's 2 persons that co-applied and 1 died, both loans are settled. But it must be reported within the 3-year span.
Both loans are settled? Or
Both loans, no, both loans are settled. It's one property.
That's dangerous.
That was a question I was about to ask. If you have a mortgage and you die, if the loan dies with you.
Yes,
So if it was
technically,
me
that's
alone,
basically
then it dies.
It dies. Once it's reported. Once it's reported.
Okay.
So whomever the property is left to would have to come in and report it to us. If
Insurance company does not settle any arrears on their account.
right.
So the beneficiaries would need to do that.
So, for example, a question. So, for,
No, go ahead.
Arrears on their account. Like, give us an idea.
Any arrears, if there is arrears.
Like,
Say someone is hasn't paid for like 4 months, just for argument's sake, but the person died.
oh, okay.
Right, so the beneficiary would need to clear that before the insurance company would settle. Right.
Okay.
okay, all right. A question, please. If there are a couple, and one takes the NHT benefit, and the other person takes the bank benefit, and the NHT person passes, the whole loan is settled, or just the NHT
NHT's part,
portion?
just the NHT's part is settled.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Very.
We're finished. All right, so these are the interest rates. Remember I mentioned earlier the first one, which is 0%. So this is what we call the income band. So wherever you fall on the band, and this is weekly income, by the way, you'll know which of the interest rate. Now, 2 things you need to note is that for you guys, public sector workers, because you're a public sector worker, based on the memorandum of understanding that the government signed, they allow you as a public sector worker that when you come to the NHT, you get a 1% reduction in your interest rate. So wherever you fall, let's say you fall at 3, and you're a public sector worker, you get 1% off, so you pay back the loan at 2%. Now, if the person is 55 and over, right, contributing to the NHT for 10 years or more, they get 2% off. So what would happen? The person is a public sector, person is 55 and over, contributing for 10 years or more. So let's say they're at 5, they'd get 2% off, which brings it down to 3, and then they get a further 1% off, which brings it down to 2.
So that means if you're at 3, you go down to 0.
Right. Right? So that's it. All right, so that's the end of the presentation. Any
I
questions?
have a question.
Sure. Somebody
else online.
So my question is, in terms of insurance, does NHT make any provisions for home insurance? Is that a part of any funds that you give, or would the person have to go out and get that insurance separately?
No, only the life insurance and the peril insurance is what we do. So I didn't mention the peril insurance. Once it's not an apartment, the peril insurance is where we insure against disaster, fire, flooding, earthquake, hurricane. So in the event of any of these things happening, you come into the NHT, we report it to the insurance company, and they in turn will investigate, process the claim, and they give you some money to do repairs. They're not going to give you money to make you better off than you were before. They're going to try and put you back in as nearest to the position that you were in before the disaster, which is called an indemnity clause. All right?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I have a question for a friend. They said ask them about the 3% deposit that was proposed by government some time ago, if it's now enforced.
3%?
I don't know if the percentage is
Deposit for what?
I'm not sure exactly. I would have to ask that question.
But I don't know if the government can do that, though, because, I mean, if you're buying property, the persons determine the percentage. As long as it don't go below NHT's 5%, we'll work with it.
So 5% is what it is now?
Right. But out there, people ask for 10 and 15 and all of these things. Any other questions?
Yes, hello.
Yes, Kemoy Sadler.
I don't know if I'm late. I didn't hear it. Like for me, if I'm working like for 2 years, do I qualify for NHT loan?
Yes, you would be. You have to be contributing for a minimum of 52 weeks, and you must be current at the point that you approach us for at least 13 weeks in the last 6 months. So you would have 52, so even if you stopped and you started again, you should be current for at least 13 weeks, which is 3 months in the last 6 months.
All right, thank you, that's all.
You're welcome.
Kemoy, a follow-up question. I'm not sure if you're interested, but would he be qualified for the same amount as a person who was working for 10 years?
The contributions makes you eligible to apply. The salary is what qualifies you for the amount.
Okay.
All right. Pointing out again, as I mentioned, amount. Suppose you came and we did a eligibility check, and we did a calculation for you. And we just did a calculation based on salary and age, because you don't identify the property yet. And we did a calculation, and we say, all right, you're young, you can get up to 40 years. By the way, 40 years is the maximum number of years that you get to pay back, and it's based on your age. All right? So let's say we did a calculation, and you say, you're 23, you can get 40 years to pay back, and you're qualified for the 6.5. But when you came to the interview, and we looked in the valuation report, the valuator says, this house is 50 years and only has a remaining useful life of 20 years, meaning how much longer he thinks this building can last. Even though your age can accommodate 40, the house is what is being used as security. So we can't give you 40, we'd have to give you the 20 years. And in doing the 20 years, the mortgage at 20 years, chances are you might not be able to get the 6.5 million. All right?
I have another question for a friend.
Sure.
What if someone was gainfully employed permanently, then made redundant, and now on a contract? Which department would they go to query their status, and what would they need to take along with them? I'm assuming that
query the status in terms of what?
Because they were made redundant, and
right?
it's now on a contract.
But all right, in some instances, you may be on a contract, and the company may be contributing on your behalf. That's not the case?
Well,
No? So in that case, the person can come in. Well, they'd get the information at the compliance department, but as of earlier this year, the government decided that if you're making contributions on your own, you go to the tax office. to do that because they want to ensure that you're not just paying NHT, but you're paying your NIS and your education and your income tax and all of that. So you would go to tax office for that part of it. Any other?
I have more, but private.
Oh, no problem. Hi.
Hello?
They can get basic information from the compliance department, but the actual payment and process, tax office.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have like a amortization rate that you work with, periodically?
I'm not understanding. What you mean?
Like periodically, what some loan companies, according to my research, or mortgage companies, they offer like rates periodically that lowers the amount that you owe,
You're talking
reducing.
About, yes,
yes.
The calculation is done on the reducing balance.
Reducing
That's what
balance.
you're asking?
Okay.
So as you pay, it's decreasing. The balance
So it's not
is
like one
decreasing.
flat rate.
Flat rate in terms of what, the interest rate?
Yes.
No, man, it's one interest rate. The interest rate is fixed.
Okay.
But when you get an amortization schedule, which breaks down your payment, and it shows you the balance as you make your payments, it's reducing. Some companies, I think you pay on the interest first before it touches the principal. It's divided. For the NHT, a part is going to principal and a part is going to interest. So it's literally reducing.
Okay, cool. It's quite flexible. Thanks.
Hello.
That's it? Orville.
Hi. Good day. How are you doing?
I am great.
If this question was asked before, but I wanted to get some information. Can I qualify again through NHT if I already purchased a house, say 9 years ago? Would I still get NHT benefits to purchase a different house?
That's two things. One, 10 years for you as a public sector worker. And two, if you're buying another home, it means that you would have sold the first one and you're coming back. 10 plus. He says he wants to purchase another house.
Yes.
Isn't that what you said, Orville?
If I want to purchase a next house.
Right.
Another.
Right. So the first one would have to be sold.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the benefit would not go over to having a next house from NHT then.
Unless Orville, no, but the transfer of balance means he would have sold. So if you sold the property and it's only 9 years, the only thing that you could get at this point is called a transfer of balance. What that means is that, let's say you got the benefit from the National Housing Trust, you sold it. At the point you sold it, the balance on your account was, say, $4 million. You could get approval for that $4 million to be transferred to the new title, which means you're getting that $4 million to assist you to buy in the purchase of the other. Clear?
Yes, clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like I'm repeating myself, but forgive me. Yeah. If I own a home and I want another house, but I get NHT already, what is there at NHT that can give me some money again?
Only if you have sold the property.
So there's nothing there if I still have the property to buy another property?
No.
Oh, thank you.
What happened to the first property? Like it is used for real estate purposes.
We're not supposed to know.
Because the policy says that if you want to do that with it, you have to get permission.
Yeah, but if you're using it for investment, then it's now an income property, and so your interest rate is going to be subject to change, or the loan can be called in. Huh? Lower?
Hi, excuse me.
Hi, Garrett.
Hi, just to follow up on Alita's question. So you're saying if you sold that first house that you got the benefits of NHT from, then you would entitled to the entire 6.5 million?
No.
What would you be
2.5
entitled
million.
to?
2.5.
2.5. Okay.
And they can do the transfer with it too. The transfer of balance, you can do that with it as well.
Okay. But you have to sold the first house.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Where's our mic?
Okay. I am a NHT contributor.
Right.
And I've never gotten a house. What do I do with my points, all of my points? Can I give that to my child or children?
You're still contributing?
Yes.
All right, so you can use the Parent Assist 2 to assist your child in purchasing property. But your name is not on a title, is it?
No, I don't have a house.
No, so it's not Parents Assist 2. You'll be co-applying with your child to get the benefit. And it's not, the points are only used for schemes and service lot, meaning the units that NHT, the units and lots that the NHT advertise for you to apply for. And if you get selected, you come in and we process you. Right. Points are only used for that. So like you're contributing for a year, that's 20 points. You get points in that case. And you would get additional points from your income. So that is only used in the case of NHT scheme unit. Outside of that, then we just look at the fact that you're eligible because you're contributing for a year or more, and then we use your salary to do the calculation. Clear? You clear?
No. No.
All right, you're thinking points. Years ago, we used to use points
Oh, they're not
for
doing that again.
everything. We don't use it for everything anymore. We only use it for scheme.
So where that money goes to?
No, man, it is there.
It is
so you
there.
can collect refund and you can still come and apply for a benefit if it's not a scheme. Or you can apply, when we advertise, you can apply for the scheme unit that we apply. Right now, we have some in St. Elizabeth. I don't think.
St. Elizabeth?
Yes. They're accepting applications starting yesterday.
As a follow-up question to that, you said that suppose her child is now underage, and by the time the child is
what
at
she said. That's
no,
what you said?
no, listen,
Oh,
listen.
okay.
Suppose she's underage, him or her, and then by the time that child is now an adult and eligible for benefits, she is now retired. Can she still co-sign with the child?
Only in the case of scheme. Parent Assist 1, you can use all of those years' contributions as points to get the child selected.
Even if she has now retired?
Even if she has retired.
Okay.
No. Just to get selection. Just to get selected. All right. With this key. When you're retired. No, she's not finished. She's not finished. What? All right. What you say you don't understand?
No, because I'm thinking, okay, so if the parent now, the parent has been contributing for 40 years, didn't get any benefit, didn't apply for anything, so all that money, has been there.
So even
Now
if she
the
don't
child-
use it for the child, she can come get her money. Collect all of it.
So
But she
you're-
wants to use it. That's what you're saying?
Well, for the child, it would not be the 13 million. You're saying, based on what you're saying, it sounds like it's 6.5.
No, let us separate the open market. Put that aside. We're talking about scheme. For scheme, it is done based on a selection basis. So we give it a date and you apply online. And they go through and they do a selection based on the number of points. So the more points you have, the better chance you stand of being selected. So NHT brought that in because the young persons were complaining and said, oh, it's only the old people them getting selected because them have far more points. So they implemented that. The Parent Assist 1, where the parent has contributed, did not utilize, didn't get a benefit. So even if their name is on title, and once they don't collect the total refund, that person can put their name up front on the application. That's it? Right. And we use the points of the parents to select the child. Of course, the child has to be contributing, working and contributing also. But the points of the parents is what is used to do the selection. Sure.
Suppose I don't have any children. Can I give it to one of my cousin or nephew?
No. Child.
Just child.
Because they're going to ask you for evidence. They're going to ask you for the birth certificate with your name on it and all of these things. Certainly. Oh. No, but she's talking about if she retire. Any more? That's it?
You should, yeah, I really don't need the mic, but, in light of me repeating myself and sounding stupid,
You don't sound stupid.
I know that there is a home improvement if you already have own a home. If you use the home improvement already, can you get the home improvement again?
No.
Even if 10 years pass or 15 years pass
Remember it
or
all.
some time pass.
The home improvement you're speaking of is really the 10 plus. The help, the home enhancement loan plan to.
Unless you're speaking that you didn't get a benefit from
I didn't get a benefit from NHT because my name was already on a title.
Oh, no man, you can't get the homeowner's loan.
But I get the
home,
50, it was 1.5 at the time, right?
All right.
So, yeah, I'm kind of old, right? So I got the 1.5 long time.
Long time.
Yes.
All right.
So can I get the 2.5 if any kind? So once 10 years has passed and my name is on a title already, and I get the benefit already,
right.
I can get benefit again as long as 10 years pass, and I can get the 2.5.
That is correct.
But I need to bring some quotation to say how add it up to the 2.5.
Precisely.
And then when you go and come look in my house to see if the quotation is matching up.
You'll be assigned a project officer.
When you go and come look,
No,
so suppose I say I want a jacuzzi, and then you give me the money for it, but then I change my mind and put a bath.
No, but remember, you would have outlined what you're doing, you know. You outline what you're doing, you know. So the project, you're assigned, once the process goes through, the mortgage is registered, it goes to the projects department. It's assigned to a project officer. That's the person who visits the site, sees what you're doing. He's the one that makes requests for the funds to be paid to you. And by the way, in a case like that, we don't do checks. It's paid directly to your account.
So you don't get the 2.5 one time?
No. They will tell you how they're going to pay it out, whether they're going to do 3, 4, or 5 payments.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
She has a question.
Generally when they're given the monies, right? Do they give it to the contractors or you get the money?
Contractor will rob you. So what you do is you would have filled out something called the electronic banking data form, and you put your name on it, because technically what you're doing is saying, listen, I'm my own contractor. Now you do the work, but you're saying you're your own contractor, so we'll pay you the money.
Oh, so it's going to my account.
Exactly.
Okay, good.
So after the work is done, do you come and check to see if the work is done?
No, man, they would have been monitoring.
Okay.
Right. The project officer would be coming in to see, or else you have to return the NHT's money.
Okay.
Say it again.
I have a follow-up question.
You're being monitored, sister. You're being monitored, yes. Because look here, chances are you might not, suppose you don't use the entire 2.5.
So you have to give it back?
You know, get all it. If you don't need it, they're not going to disburse it. That's all. Somebody else?
Yes.
Hi, morning.
Hello.
Maybe you went through this before, but. Oh.
All right, we can go?
Yeah.
Okay, so my follow-up question is, in the event there is a default on the loan, how long does the NHT hold that loan in limbo until the person is able to resume payment.
It's
So
not
let's
in
say it's a
limbo.
it's a sole applicant, and there's some interruption after you've had the loan for a couple months, you know. So what does that look like?
You'll have to, we always encourage persons. Communication is key. You need to come in, speak with our loan management department, and they work with you. There are cases where persons have lost their jobs, and we know that you don't have no money. So what NHT does, once you come in, communication is key. If you sit down and don't say anything to the NHT, they're always going to sell, because we have to get back our money. But if you're coming in and you have been talking to us, we work with you. Sometimes what they do is they put a moratorium on the account. What that means is that the account does not expect the payment for a period. So they might start out by giving like 3 months. A 3 months moratorium, depending on the situation, they might give 6. So the account does not expect a payment. However, the interest is still being calculated on it. So the important thing is that you communicate. If you lose your job and you say, Lord, I can't bother you, I not come, the house won't sell. We're going to either put it up for auction. Usually it goes up for auction. If it's not sold by auction, it goes on private treaty. What that means is that we have a listing on the website. So I'm also telling you that because you can go open market for that as well. You go through it, you make an offer. Usually you write with your offer. If it's accepted, you are advised. And they draft up your sales agreement and all of these things. Same thing like open market. But the important thing, communication is key. You're having a problem paying, you have a problem with the co-applicant, you and the man in a nice relationship, and then it break up and the man throw you out of the house. He's not supposed to do that because your name on the title. You're going to need a
Most cases.
Mark, you're going to need a lawyer, but you can't, there's a document you would have signed to say that you can't throw each other out of the house. You can't throw the person out and put on a padlock and say, listen, me run this at my house. Right, you can't do that. So communication is key, you know.
So you're saying that the listing, the houses for auction, do you have it online as well?
No.
Auction is usually advertised, but private treaty is on the NHT website. Private treaty is delinquent persons. We put up the house for auction. You know auction, right? You go to the auction house and them say starting at 2 million, and you say 2 million and go on. So let's say they go through all of that and they didn't get the house sold. Then we take it back from the auctioneers and we put it on the private treaty listing. So once you go on the site and you see it and you say, oh, I like this one, you write to the NHT and you make them an offer. And if the offer is accepted based on what they're looking for, then you can go open market and buy that house. Now, with auction properties and private treaty properties, you get the house as is. Meaning, you have some persons get angry, they're delinquent, and them angry, and them say, oh, I needed put on a nice door upon the house, and now I get it. Them take off the door. Them dig up the tiles, and them take out the toilet bowl. And I mean, I'm serious, I've seen it happen. If you buy the house and it's so it's there, so you get it as is.
But you don't get to view it before.
No, because the people them lock up the house and say, you're not coming in. And by the way, you're responsible for getting the persons out of the house. Yes. Huh? For private treaty or auction, if you have tenants, you're responsible for getting them out. Any other questions? Huh? That's just how it is with auction. Not just with NHT, you know. Auction and private treaty, that's how it is. That gentleman had a question.
Yes. The home improvement loan, what are the limits of its use? And do you have another option for like putting in solar systems or alternative energy?
For the home improvement, or I want to say homeowners loan, meaning you already own the property. For those persons who didn't get it through the National Housing Trust, some of them up to take that 2.5 and the solar panel, which is totally different from solar water heater, right? Because you know panel expensive, so you can take it for that.
Okay.
Or to do improvements, to build your wall.
But from what you're saying, there's a solar water heater.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier, 250,000, and I said that some persons might say they don't want a solar water heater. Jamaica hot enough. They can use it to buy the rhino tanks to store water.
And that's separate from your benefit, from
Right.
your open market benefit.
So you can get the open market and still get the solar water heater. Right.
But what about solar electric?
The panel.
You can use your 15 plus.
Yeah, you can use the 10 plus or the 15 plus to do that. That's it? Okay.
I think I have a question.
Sure.
I think I speak loud enough without the mic.
No.
No?
I'll hold it for you. Like a diva.
Okay, so my question is, if you had a parent and they were throwing the housing trust from before, you are not on the account as a beneficiary or a child or that, but then the person is now deceased, but they have been throwing for years. How do you get back the benefits for that?
You have to
the
come
points?
into contribution refunds department. I think you take in the death certificate, the burial. There's a checklist that they have, a burial order and all of that. And you can make claims for it. Of course, you're going to have to prove that you're related to the person. But in some instances, I think you can get assistance with the burial, so 50,000. Right. You can get assistance. So even if the burial was done, you take the proof of how much you had spent. Even if you're not, say, a daughter or a son, but a relative, you come into contribution refunds and you can get, I think it's about $50,000 to assist you with that.
Is there a time limit on it?
I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't expect that it's like 10, 20 years ago, but more recent. Yeah.
I know that some places, even if you ask for the benefits back, they do have a time limit on it.
We can check that for you.
Thank you.
Oh, we didn't send around person's opinion? Okay.
If it is that you want to start your own account, can you transfer the...
When you say account, you mean start contributing to
Yes.
the NHT? Okay.
Can
It's
you
individually done.
Yes, so can you transfer from the deceased to... Okay.
No.
So you just need to just ask for a refund then?
You need to come into contribution funds and make a claim.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I have a question.
Sure.
We actually have, in addition to employed staff members, we also have student workers who are employed with us, young people who are students in the system, but they earn income by working with us. Now, I don't think in terms of statutory deductions, they're set up in the same way as employees. I think they're sort of treated a slightly different arrangement, right? If they wish to get a head start on this process, can they go in and start contributing by themselves? Could they start? I mean,
How old? Like, what age are these?
well, I know you start. They're adults.
They're adults.
18.
No, once they're 18, they're earning.
Yes.
But the company, you're saying the company doesn't pay for them?
The company does.
Does.
But they earn almost on a, for want of a better word, an arrangement that would pertain to sort of a contractual arrangement. So they get paid. I guess equivalent to a PAYE.
It is like minimum wage and above? If it's
above.
below minimum wage, they can't make the contribution. It has to be 7,000 and up.
Per month.
Per week.
Per week, sorry, yes. Yes, I think some of them would fall into that bracket.
So what I'm trying, let me understand what you're asking me. You have student workers, they're 18 and over, you pay them on a contractual basis. you also make NHT contributions from this income that you're paying
No,
them?
not for the student workers.
Not for the student
Yeah,
workers.
so I'm asking if they can
Yes,
start
they
that process
can. They
themselves.
can.
Is there
Tax
any
office,
requirement?
though. You have to go
Excellent. So
tax
does that
office.
require anything from the side of the employer, since they're
No.
contractual?
I guess titles, not titles, tax office would ask for proof that they're employed here.
Reasonable.
And there are certain forms I think they complete. SO4 form that they would complete. Right. And you get that at the tax office.
But when they go to the tax office, though, they will be paying NIS, NHT,
education.
all
All of that.
That
That is why them send it there. That's why the government sent it there.
So when they're done, they don't have no money.
Yeah, because what was happening is that a lot of persons were evading paying all those other things, the taxes and the NIS, and they just come and just state a thing at the NHT and say, this may earn, and then pay on it. But when they go elsewhere, let's say you were doing the joint financing, and some persons came and they told the NHT, oh, I'm only earning $15,000.99, and I'm getting 0%. But when they went over to JN Bank, they stated that they're earning like 10 million a year. So they only pay the NHT based on the income that they stated, and they didn't pay any taxes and all that. So the government picked up on that. So they say, you know what, we're going to solve this problem. Everybody go to tax office that are self-employed or making voluntary contributions. Oh, and by the way, persons abroad can contribute to NHT as well and get a benefit. For those persons, however, they must be contributing for at least 2 years before they can get a benefit. Well, they come to NHT. Those persons come to NHT. So the ones that go to tax office, they pay the contributions on a quarterly basis, but for the persons who live abroad, they pay it on a monthly basis at the National Housing Trust.
So you have an account that they can pay it into? Or?
Hello?
They would have got, the NIS number is what we use.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody said hello.
Yes, Orville again.
Hi, Orville.
Hi. This scenario, if a person, parents, say they use their NHT to purchase a house and their child name was added to the title, does that child get the benefit of NHT still? Can that child acquire the benefits?
You mean the full benefit of 6.5?
Yes,
All right.
being that they're already on a title. Sorry?
They can, depending on what age they were placed on the title and for what reason. Because in some instances, parents put the child's name on the title for security reasons. And you were probably underage at the time. So in a case like that, you would write to us, indicate, listen, my mother placed my name on her title when I was about 10. I'm now married and I don't intend to live at that house. So you put that forward and you get a sign off and you can get up to the 6.5 based on affordability.
Okay, so the child has to, well, so the person is like in their 20s.
You mean they were in their 20s when the name was placed on it? Oh, it's a case-by-case basis. In some instances, if you just approach us, we're going to process it for just the homeowners of 2.5. But if you can write to our senior management to say, listen, it was just there as security. I'm now married, I have children, don't have no intention. You can write. Of course, you're going to supply us with a copy of the title. So we're going to look at the year it was placed on the title. We're going to look at the birth certificate to prove that the person is your parent and all of that. So you can get a sign-off for it.
Okay.
So in essence, I'm saying you have to get approval before we can process.
Okay. Is there a department or a particular person
that you can write
one
to?
would address the letter to?
Yes.
Or to go to?
Lorna Bernard, she is the branch manager of the Kingston and St. Andrew branch office.
Okay. So appointment would have to be set to talk to her instead of just sending a letter.
You just write your letter and come in. Submit it to, you come to the customer service department, submit it, along with the birth certificate, the title, your letter, the proof that you're currently contributing, which is the letter verifying income and contribution, and at least 3 of your most recent pay slips. Along with
how
your
long
NIS
does
and
this process
TRN, of
take if
course.
all of this is sent in?
Say that
Or,
again, I'm sorry.
how long does this process take if all of this is sent in and they agree to it?
I don't think there's a time on it, but I know if
Okay.
you're purchasing, they'd have to expedite because in the case of purchase, time is of the essence.
Yeah.
All right?
All right, thanks much.
You're most welcome. Yes.
What are the scenarios when a person would get back all their money that they have contributed?
Retired. Yeah. Or you have persons who are expatriates. Persons who are expatriates, meaning that they're not from Jamaica and they came here to work for a particular period of time and they're now leaving to go back home, they can get all their refunds.
And just to follow up,
Providing that you didn't get a benefit. Providing you didn't get a benefit. Because once you have a benefit, you're not a public sector worker, you can't collect your refund, it goes to your mortgage.
What if the person is migrating and does not intend to come back?
Migrating, they have a benefit or they don't? They got a loan from NHT?
No.
If they're migrating and they're not 65, they can't get all the refunds. They just get the ones that are due.
Okay.
And I need to point out, as it relates to contribution refunds, as of April 1, if you have the refund and you don't collect it and 10 years has passed, the government hold it. You can't get it. So you need to collect. Because I know what some persons used to do is they save it up and say, all right, I just want to collect one big money. And then make the years pass. So if 10 years pass and you don't collect it.
You want to keep it so that we can use it as
It was stated in Parliament.
Never, everybody listened to Parliament.
April 1, it
Or
was
watch it.
April 1, 2019 it took effect. Yes. So if, like, say, 2011, you don't collect it and 10 years pass, you now get it again.
Damn. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
The government say you now get it if 10 years pass.
There's a difference. Those are contributions that you should have.
Oh, you said CRTD?
Yeah.
No, man. Remember, those are contributions that are not yet ready for collection. I'm talking about the ones that you should have collected. Like, you have some persons don't collect 2,000 yet.
So you're saying that the CRTD could not, I could not have left. Oh.
That's not impacted. The previous ones.
What have contributions to come?
Oh,
right.
To come. Okay, that was the I just have a follow-up question from what Marty asked.
The young lady here, she had asked about the death claim. There is no limit. There's no time limit. All right.
Right. So just a follow-up. You may have said it before, but so forgive me. So someone had a benefit from you. So they purchased a home. They paid off for that one. They collected the lump sum because they were not retired. Are there any other benefits that they could get?
No.
None?
No.
Okay.
That's total refund. Remember right.
They collected it. I think they collected everything, but now that they're retired, maybe because they didn't know. That's the reason why Mr. White was saying that persons need to know all of these things.
Okay.
So they collected a lump sum because they're now retired.
Right.
But okay.
Any other question?
Yeah. Is there any exception?
In terms of? For what?
Come on, may I try now? May I try? Oh, sorry. Are there any exception, you see, to the CRTD money where you can actually get it if you're going to buy a second home? At the NHT?
We're encouraged not to tell persons no, but
oh, good. Don't tell me no.
Encourage you to place your request in writing to our branch manager, and then you'll see whether or not it can be favorable for you.
Has it ever been done?
No. That's a nice one. It's a nice one.
She's thinking.
I don't have book. I got no more questions.
Any other? That's it?
What about pensioners? Are
Whatever.
there any benefits? Suppose somebody got their benefit collected, paid off, they're a pensioner now. Are they eligible for anything?
No.
I don't know, nothing at all.
Because they collected total refund, so they can't get anything more. Remember, 18 to 65 contribution. The only exception is Parent Assist 1, where you didn't get your total refund and you didn't get a benefit from the National Housing Trust, and you're using your points to assist your child to get selected for the scheme.
I was asking, is there any scenario where you're not yet a homeowner, but you'd like to access a solar loan?
Solar in what sense?
The panels. So I want to put it for my mother's house.
No. One thing I should mention though, persons who are mortgages, if you have a relative who is disabled, you can get a special home grant to retrofit the home for those persons, and it's 150,000. So the person would have to be registered with the Jamaica Council for Disabled, right. So you get the 150 to retrofit when you want to put in a ramp or bar, you know the bar that you put like in the bath and stuff to help them, so you can get that as well. But the person who is applying must be a current mortgager to the National Housing Trust.
And you have to show proof of relationship?
They ask for that? The person would have to be living there with you. Sure.
Okay, so my other question is, if it is that you were paying for a while, but there is a lapse in payment, so there is
Paying
a
for what, contribution?
Yes.
Okay.
So there is a period where you weren't paying at all. Do you need to do something to get the account up current, or what exactly do you need to do?
Let me see if I understand. You're paying contributions and you stopped.
Yes.
You don't start it? You don't start again?
As in, like, say a couple months, you stop for a period. So say
you
you
have
were
to advise them as to what transpired during that month. Is it that you were on a contract and the contract ended, you weren't working?
So what about a case like that? Something like that.
You're not earning an income.
For
But
that
started. So if you start again, are you talking about starting on your own or are you with a company?
All of it.
Right. If you're paying on your own, you weren't earning, then NHT won't ask you to pay up. But if you were earning, they're going to ask you for pay up to the period for which you weren't contributing. So let's say you're coming in, you're just coming in, you're going to start contributions. The compliance department usually asks what happened within the last 7 years before you came into us. What were you doing? So you got tax officer will look at that. And there might be some back payment thing for you.
So you weren't doing nothing? You weren't doing nothing, you weren't doing nothing. You were back pay. Advisor, counselor. You were back pay, you weren't working.
But depending on how long you were contributing before, let's say you have the 52 weeks, and you stop and you're starting again. Once you have the 3 months, which is 13 weeks, you'll be eligible to apply for the benefit. You clear?
I guess her original question was if the account could lapse, and then I'm trying to add all the possibilities.
Okay, there's no lapse where NHT is concerned, because you paid, and once you paid, the money is there somewhere, okay? So that's the first part. However, if you stopped contributing, and for whatever reason it is, you would need to clear that up with our compliance department. Okay, so give some clarification as to why you stopped. Is it that you were not working? Is it that you were going to school? What is the situation? Yeah, well, we have the compliance department for that to deal with the employer. All right, so that once you have your pay slips to show, then you can take it to the compliance department and they will address that part of it. All right, but once you start paying contributions again, then it's like you just continue from there. So the is still there.
Any other questions? How about our remote participants? Any other questions? I think we've had a good run, but I'm sure we can squeeze.
No questions?
Any, we have persons all over actually. Some actually overseas too. Anybody else?
Garrick.
All right, colleagues. It sounds like that's it, but
I remember we're here, so
exactly.
if you want to do the
That's
one-on-one.
so Anna. So these are all the persons who are joining us. Many of whom don't want to show their faces, but they're there. They're listening in quite keenly. I just want to say this has been awesome. Let's give Mrs. Wedderburn and Ms. McGraw a round of applause. It's been really good. I'm sure you'll agree that we've had, more information than we can imagine shared with us. And it sort of started with a little conversation between, I think, Mrs. Wedderburn and Andre, our Fabo. And it just caught fire from there, and I'm glad we did it. I'm so glad that we did it. And I think for those who have more questions, as they say, some little housekeeping notes, they'll be here. We're going to have them split up between the ground floor meeting room as well as the top floor meeting room, right? So if you want to take those little queries that you couldn't ask in public, and or maybe you just want to sit down with some numbers, they can help you do the calculations, get an idea of what you might be eligible for, what you may have access to in specific terms. They are committing to make themselves available. Now, we haven't quite worked out the mechanics of this. Initially, we were wondering if we should have a sign-up sheet, but we're a small enough group, and I think we communicate with each other well enough. So I'm suggesting just walk in that we'll probably have somebody nearby just to indicate, or probably something on the door that says occupied, not occupied, and just knock and go in. Probably simpler. I know some of the consults are going to be just a few minutes, maybe a question or two. Others might take a little longer. They will break for lunch, for a brief period, so make allowance for that. Beyond that, it may not be possible to accommodate everybody face-to-face on a one-on-one basis. The good news is I think they have their contact information for us. So you can follow up. You can actually, Orville, for example, they know you now. You can say, this is Orville from MITS. So you can follow up. And you may actually go back home, maybe converse with your spouse, maybe even your parents, and have realized some new things that apply to you and have follow-up questions. Definitely engage. I encourage you to follow this thing through, and we hope it'll bring you closer to your home, or dream of home ownership. And even other ideas that have been floated, expansion, improvement, the solar stuff, excellent stuff. I didn't know, for example, that the solar loan could be used for a water tank, or that some aspect of it, So there are so many options that have been, presented to us. So I want to thank you, but also to say thanks to all those who have participated, right? I know it's been difficult. We're juggling this between work, but the good news is that we did record it. Now we're gonna make it available. I haven't asked their permission yet. I will do so. It will be made available with their permission for internal use only through a secured link. So we'll publish that if they agree, hopefully late tonight or by early tomorrow. But bear in mind, it's for internal use, and we'll make sure it's a secured option. So even from that, if there are others who didn't benefit, if you have questions, come back, use the contact information, share the contact information for those who are not here, right? And what remains is to say thank you again. We have, so Shane, are you here? Oh, sure. Wonderful. Wonderful. Considering you asked most of the questions, I think it's most appropriate.
The longest part of my question is the money part, and that part gone. All right, so on behalf of MITS, yes, both of you. Yes, I miss my calling, you know. Yes. On behalf of MITS, that is Mona Information Technology Services, which is this department and more, we would like to thank you for the valuable information that you have departed on us. Is that the word? Or imparted on us. Thank you. And we say thank you. Thank you. And thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.